Welcome to Leadership and People. This is a series that pulls back the curtain on leadership by interviewing CEOs, senior executives, and entrepreneurs who have had large exits. We ask these experts about how they built trusted networks to rapidly grow their companies and what advice they wish they knew if they could do it all again. Today on the show, we've got Joel Clark.
And then, the reality check was, this is going to be a while, Joel. You're going to have to just get patient and you're going to have to hang in there. And that was one of the hardest things for me was to do that. And, I almost quit a lot of times and I somehow was able to kind of hang in and keep going.
Joel, thanks for making time.
It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
So for people who don't know Kodiak Cakes, besides approaching $100 million in sales, can you tell us about you?
Yeah. Yep. So Kodiak Cakes, we're mostly known as a high protein whole grain pancake mix. And it was actually my mom's recipe from forever ago when we were growing up that we took and turned into a mix and started selling it. I actually sold little homemade pancake mixes out of a red wagon when I was 8 years old to the neighbors. And so that was kind of like, that was the original foundation of Kodiak Cakes. And then my older brother, John, took that recipe and turned it into a product in the mid 90s, asked me to help him start selling it. And then I took the company over in 1997 when I was a college student at the University of Utah and took it over and just bootstrapped for a lot of years and just stuck with it. And little by little, we started to make some good progress and grow.
Yeah, that's great.
A lot of fun.
Well, and it sounds like you've had a few fun things along the way, like Shark Tank and some other things. You want to tell us about a couple highlights?
Yeah, I would say, speaking of Shark Tank, I'd say, so that aired in 2014 in April. And 2014 really was kind of an inflection year for us. I mean, before that, we just kind of bootstrapped and bumbled along. We started to get some pretty good growth a couple of years leading up to 2014. But when we launched Power Cakes in 2014, that's our high protein version of our pancake mix. And that just immediately took off. So that went into Costco stores in January 2014, and it took off pretty immediately at Costco. Then we went on Shark Tank in April of 2014, and that just became this huge exposure bump for the brand. And then 2 months later, we launched Power Cakes at Target, and that just took off. That immediately became the number one selling pancake mix at Target by 20%, over the previous number one product. So that just kind of really started to resonate with millennials and just grew our brand. It just really put us on the map, and we've been able to keep the momentum since then.
That's pretty awesome. So thinking about this, I saw a quote that you're like a 20-year-old startup.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. But thinking about that mentality or the way that you approach things and the way you lead your organization, what is maybe one of your leadership philosophies or the way you do things around there?
For me, I really am a relationships guy, and I know that even Corporate Alliance talks a lot about that. For me, it's like relationships are really the foundation of great business, and it's the foundation of everything, because I think if you have really good relationships, people want to come to work, and then people want to work for you. When you really take time and build relationships and care about people, man, people just want to be there. They want to work. I just interviewed about half the people in the company, and then Cameron, who's my COO, he interviewed about half the people, the other half of everyone in the company. We just kind of like, you want to interview everybody. We try to do that, try to connect with everybody often. And one of the things that we asked was, what really motivates you and what drives you? And most people's answers were the people that I work with. And so what that really meant to me was, everyone here values the relationships. It's like the foundation. And so, if we can really, really focus on that and having solid interactions with each other, then you can grow. You can do a lot of things from building, with that foundation.
So I'm interested in this phrase you use, take time. We live in such a busy world, and with their digital devices and everybody's always accessible, it only feels more busy and more busy. And especially leaders today talk about feeling overscheduled and there's all these things they know they should do, but they feel like they don't have time. Can you talk
Hmm.
about taking the time for that, even though you probably have a million other things you could do?
Yeah, that's a great question. One thing, a couple of things that I do. So I schedule meetings with everyone in the company. So at least 2 or 3 meetings a week. I just meet with somebody. So I try to check in with everyone in the company, two at least, a couple times a year at least, and have like a real just a one-on-one conversation and just chat, ask them how they're doing, and just talk to them and connect. And that obviously will get tougher and tougher as we get bigger and bigger. We're still, we're about 55 people in our company, and so we're at a place where we can do that, where I can do it, and it even is hard now. It's hard to make the time and to, but it is really, to me, one of the most important things that I do, because I really want to connect with everyone here and be available and help people feel like they can connect with me even as we grow. So I'm hoping to be able to do that as long as I possibly can. So I make time for that. There's one other thing I do, which is I keep a spreadsheet, and basically what I do is in the spreadsheet I track when I meet with everyone, when the last time I met with them was, or connected really well. And then I take notes. I take notes about them and about their life and about, who their significant other is, what things they like. And then I write down, when did I show appreciation to that person? When was the last time I actually told them something about their job and what they're doing well, and expressed appreciation for being here? So I think those are just a couple things that I do that I think are, really, really valuable, that they take time, but they're really, really worth the effort.
So I'm interested in what you feel like the effect of actually tracking that is.
I think, yeah, I think really the effect is, when I feel like, my theory is, when people feel connected to each other and to their leaders, they get motivated. And I think what we're really trying to do as leaders is we're trying to figure out what motivates people, and how can we help with that process. And what I think, yes, people, there's a lot of factors and why people get motivated, but to me, one of the biggest ones is the people and the relationships. That's what I kept hearing over and over, is like, I work here because I love the people I work with, and I get to make a great contribution. It's like the work you do is also incredibly motivating. But I think that's one of the biggest impacts, is when people feel, they always say that that's one thing they like about working here at Kodiak Cakes, is they feel connected with everybody. They feel connected with leadership. And, not only, we try to be really transparent with people and help them to know the why we do things. And so I think those are the real impact, is that people get really motivated and they can give you more. They want to work for someone they like, or that at least that they feel like they have a relationship with.
That sounds so simple. But we've all had that, right? You think about when we have all had bosses that we actually liked and how much
Yeah.
better work we gave them, right?
Oh my gosh. Totally. Totally.
And I'm
I,
thinking,
yeah.
well, I like your list idea, because if you run down that list and you see a name that doesn't have an appreciation date on it anytime recently,
Yeah.
it seems like that would be a trigger, kind of a prompt of like, man, am I on my A game for that?
Yeah. And like, I don't tell, I don't really go around and tell everyone in the company this is what I do, because, maybe that might feel less authentic to people. But I started to learn that, God, I really need to be deliberate about it, and I need to track it, because otherwise it's kind of like what you were saying before. We think about all the things we need to do, and we just don't get to them all. Right. And so I found myself thinking all the time about, man, I need to talk to this person. They did such a good job here. And then maybe I forget to tell them, or maybe it's like, I think about how all the impact that people are making here. And if I don't tell them, then, they may not, or if we aren't as a company talking to each other and telling each other that, we appreciate what they're doing, you don't always know. And so you kind of need to hear it. It's nice to hear it, and it's motivating.
Sure.
So tracking it became just, really, really important for me.
Yeah. Well, it's obviously getting results with the kind of growth you guys are having, and obviously leading certain categories. For those of us not in your business. Can you tell us some of the secrets, some of the things that you feel like maybe you wouldn't have learned any other way than doing what you've been doing for so long?
Yeah. Um, I mean, so I guess some of the things that are, some of the things I think I learned early on was this is going to take a lot longer than I ever anticipated. Like being an entrepreneur and trying to get a little business off the ground was simply going to take time. We hear a lot about other, we hear a lot about the kind of get lucky or grow big fast stories. And those are exciting to read about. And we all kind of wish it could happen to us in any career that we're in, right? No matter what we're doing. But I mean, what I learned is that, God, early on, I had this reality check of, wow, this is going to take a while. Like I didn't have any capital to put into Kodiak Cakes. We just bootstrapped it for so many years. And so I had to be patient. And I think that was one of the things that was really hard for me in the beginning, because when I first took this company over, when I was in college, and it was tiny, but I really thought, oh, I can do this. I can build this thing. I can get this thing going really fast. And then, the reality check was, this is going to be a while, Joel. You're going to have to just get patient, and you're going to have to hang in there. And that was one of the hardest things for me was to do that. And, I almost quit a lot of times, and I somehow was able to kind of hang in and keep going. But that, I think, is one thing that I learned that I think is helpful, is we need to be patient. We all need to be patient, no matter what aspect of the career path that we're in, whether we're working for a great company or whether we're entrepreneurs or whatever we're doing. We have to be patient with ourselves, with other people, with our bosses, with our leaders, but be consistent. We have to be super consistent about what we do and persevere and be dedicated. And then things happen. Doors open up.
Yeah. Thinking of those, those traits you just listed, I mean, it's not like we haven't heard those before, but
Right.
it's interesting how going back to the basics is what we need, though. Like all our human frailties,
Yeah.
that when we get off track. Do you have anybody that you feel like you look up to when it comes to those traits, or could be somebody or just somebody you read about, or somebody that you feel like you want to be more like in some of those ways?
Yeah, I think a really good one would be my dad. And my dad was, he's the type of guy that was just consistent and steady and hardworking like his entire life. And he was a really good example of that. He retired he was a teacher. He retired in his early 60s from that. And he wanted, but he was a really energetic guy. And so I quit my job. I had a job right out of college for a while, and I quit my job. I had been doing Kodiak Cakes on the side for quite a few years. In 2004, I quit my job to go do Kodiak Cakes full time. And my dad was about 64 or 65 at the time. And he said, "Hey, Joel, how about if I help you?" So he joined me. He was 65, and he became an entrepreneur at 65, and he worked for another 5 years and just hit it really hard. And I think he was a really good example to me of someone who just kept going and never let up in his whole life. And and having new experiences and learning a new thing, a new industry. And the two of us had a great time. We worked together for almost 4 years. And he was awesome. I mean, he was incredible. Great sales guy, really energetic. And the two of us just worked hard and started to create great momentum with Kodiak Cake. So he'd definitely be one that I would look up to for those things.
Yeah. When you think about this momentum, and you talked about earlier that the product you really have appealed to this next generation, can you talk
Uh-huh.
about your approach to marketing and growing the business?
Yeah, a big, huge part of our marketing is social media driven. And so this is interesting. So yes, we are appealing to millennials like crazy. But if you would have come to me like 5 years ago and said, "Hey, are college kids or people in their early 20s, are they making pancakes?" I'd have been like, "Yeah, I mean, a little bit, not a ton." Our demographic, I think, was a little older at the time. And when we launched with protein, it did become, appealing for younger and younger demographics. And our social media we almost started reacting to it a little bit. I mean, we always had a plan to do social media and to build it, but Power Cakes kind of went crazy on social media, and fitness groups and healthy eaters and people like that would start talking about it, and so it sort of started snowballing even without even without us in a lot of ways. And so over time, we started to really take hold of that and to leverage that and start to build it. So now, I mean, we put a lot of effort into social media marketing, and then we do a lot of events, like a lot of event marketing to get out there to sample product. Like we go to races, running races, biking races, things like that, where we can find people that would love our product. And then we do quite a big, I guess, PR strategy, and that stems from just when I was just me running the company, having no money for marketing. I used to go around and do cooking segments on the news, and I would go and I'd drum up newspaper articles and this and that and blogs, blog posts, and so anything we could do to be scrappy to get some coverage was awesome. And so that's kind of stuck with us, and so we still today have a really pretty big PR effort, because it's a great way to stay scrappy and be creative and get some exposure without having to pay a whole bunch of money for it. So I think those are some big things that we do.
I love it. So let's dive into these a little bit. So
Yeah.
events, I love the idea of, go to the watering hole where your ideal customer is hanging out already. Right.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
But, all of us who have run something before know that plenty of events don't have a positive ROI. What does that balance beam look like? How do you guys make the decision, the go, no go decision for this is the event for us?
Yeah, that's a great question, because you're right. It is pretty tough to really figure out an ROI, because it's hard to track. Like, are these people actually going back to the store and picking up a box of Kodiak Cakes? And so we do kind of go a little bit blind that way, and we are kind of going, in some ways off of just anecdotal, feedback that people go and they buy our products. And so that has always been a little bit of a struggle. The one thing that we do is I think that the main thing we do with event marketing is we try to come up with a cost per sample. And so I can't remember, I think we're, around $1 or something like that, where we try to spend on an event. So if an event is going to be, if travel and everything makes the event well over that, then we may rethink that. So I think we've just refined, like, okay, what's a decent cost? And the other thing that we do that plays into that is some events we don't have to show up at. We can just provide product, and it could go in a giveaway bag, for example. And so sometimes those can be pretty effective. But where we can, we like to be there. We like to have our team there, and we like to engage and interact with our customers and sample the product ourselves. And we feel like that those are really, really powerful, moments with consumers. So while we can't completely generate an ROI, we feel that those events are still really important.
Well, and I mean, how many entrepreneurial decisions are based on perfect data, right?
Oh my gosh, totally.
It's like a whole life of taking a blind leap of faith, right?
It's totally true.
So thinking about your people and the folks that you bring to these events, what does onboarding look like for you guys? How do you have a team that when I bring these people to the event, our customers are going to have a positive experience with my team?
We spend a lot of time with that, and we look for people that are genuinely interested in what we sell, for example. So some of our best event marketers are people that really do care a lot about healthy eating, active lifestyles. We really try to determine, like, does this person fit our mission? And our mission is about inspiring people to eat healthier and live active lifestyle. And so it's pretty easy to determine if someone really does fit or believe in that mission. And so that would be step one, is do they do that? Because then they can be authentic when they're there, right? And then, obviously the next step is, are they a people person? Do they like to talk to people? And can they get out there and really just be warm and friendly and not be mechanical? Our brand is really about being just down to earth and friendly and, approachable to anyone. Yet it is about being active and encouraging people to be active and eat better. And so, yeah, we really spend a lot of time on making sure people fit our mission, what we're doing.
I love it. Well, I think this is a good place to end part one of the interview. One of my favorite questions we end with a lot is, what's a piece of advice you would like to go back and give a younger version of yourself?
I think that one's probably an easy one for me. We talked a little bit about this, but it's be patient. It's like that you've got to be patient. It's going to take longer than you think. So hang in there, because I think when we're young, we're ready to roll. We want to see results fast. We want to build something quickly, and it's really hard to be patient and to just deal with the fact that this is going to be a while. You're going to be living on nothing, like almost no money for quite a long time, and you're going to have to figure out how to get by. And so that's tough. But it's like, if you hear that and enough people tell you that, you're kind of like, well, I guess it's okay. Other people are doing that. I could do it too. I could make it through, So that's what I would say.
Awesome. Okay, everybody, please tune back in and catch part 2 of the interview here.
Hi, my name is Logan Wilkes, and I'm the CEO of Corporate Alliance. A few years ago, I moved to San Diego to build a new market for us there. The biggest deterrent I had to success was I didn't know a soul. I often thought to myself, if I just had a thriving network or influence, this would go 100 times faster. To be honest with you, I had never felt so alone in my life because A, I didn't have an influence, and B, I didn't know anyone that was going through the same thing that I was. If you have ever felt like this and you are looking to grow your influence, join us at one of our upcoming events. You can check us out at corporatealliance.net and request an invite to one of our upcoming experiences.